Been a minute since I've been on Facebook Live. I'm just sitting here reading through some articles, man. Just as a disclaimer, let me read this. The views and opinion in this video and content on this channel do not necessarily reflect fact or fiction. They are the opinions on current events based upon the information that is available at the time of recording. The content is based on opinion and is made for entertainment purposes only. Okay. So I'm checking out this case with Fani Willis, and she's the prosecutor for the Young Thug case, and it's real interesting that I'm reading some of the stuff that I'm reading on this woman, man. Um, this woman is as crooked as the letter C. I mean, I'm very surprised that you would have someone like this that is going to be prosecuting a man and bringing charges on a man to kind of determine uh, will he where he'll be spending the rest of his life at. You know what I'm saying? Like, uh, if you can read the scrolling ticket below, I mentioned in there how someone in this position should be a upstanding citizen of the law. You shouldn't have someone that is doing things that are crooked behind the scenes, and they have the power to uh, put someone behind bars. Um, that shouldn't be the position of someone of this statute. I mean, this woman has a lot of skeletons in her closet. Let me get into a little bit of the literature here. Right now, they have her on the stand. Well, not right now, but they've been in litigations over the last week or so about Fannie Willis. She's supposed to be overseeing the Donald Trump election interference case down in Georgia, and she's not pro Trump. She's against Trump. She's saying that Trump is falsely accusing the state of Georgia of tampering with evidence as far as the voting and stuff like that. Um, it says here Thursday when two top prosecutors testified under oath about their romantic relationship at a hearing triggered by allegations of self-dealings to have the potential to derail the indictment. Now she's actually caught up in, I don't want to say necessarily a love triangle, but she's dealing with a guy who she hired to help prosecute or uh, help carry out this case. And he supposedly was married at the time, and she was dealing with a man who was supposedly married. He was going through a divorce, but she hired him to help with the case of dealing with the government or the voting interference by the government in the state of Georgia. And they have all kind of allegations that's being brought up on them as far as money being kind of stolen, money that was given to them for campaign purposes, and the money not going to the correct places where it was, where it should have been going. Um, it says here there was talk of cash exchange hands from Willis to Wade, which is going to be the guy who she's being accused of having an affair with. Um, Actually, the story is being brought about because they're saying that she was involved with this guy before the actual election in 2020. Now they're accusing her of having affairs with this guy since 2019. Wade is the guy that I'm speaking of. She says that she didn't have relations with this guy before 2020, um, and everything that they were doing was pretty much on the up and up. It says here uh, there was talks of cash exchange and hands to hands from Willis to Wade, where they store their money at home, cash app usage, and their spending habits, all to get to the question of whether Willis benefited financially from putting him on her staff. Okay, now they were, taking trips uh, to California, you know, living it up in nice hotel rooms, things of that nature. Willis was expected to return Friday to be cross-examined by the district attorney um, at the hearing, but she came into the courtroom very distraught. I mean, very, very. I hate to say this, in angry black woman fashion. As she entered the courtroom, as if she's gonna tell them, I'm gonna straighten these people out for even trying me like this. Is the manner that she came into the courtroom. She really, she really just showed uh, a character that, to me, is a big display of guilt. I got a video. Let me see here if I can pull this video up. This video is coming from 11 Live. This is a YouTube video from 11 Live. Uh, this is part two of Fani Willis takes a stand in hearing on motion to disqualify her from Trump case. Now, let me.
Thank you, Judge. How often did Mr. Wade visit you at a place where you were living between 2019 and 2021?
So you want to start with the lie that he lived with me in South Fulton in 2000?
Now, I want y'all to just pay attention to her body language and pay attention to how defensive she is. She's really, she's really displaying a character of this of defense, and it really paints her as a guilty woman. Just how she, how she's talking to the lady, how defensive she is, just some of the things that she responds to the lady's questions. It just shows she's very unprofessional when she's put under the hot seat. And mind you, this is a woman who, as you can see here, this is a woman who, excuse me, this is a woman who's supposed to be prosecuting this man here, Young Thug. She brought him into the courtroom and brought him up on charges of racketeering, murder, and all kind of stuff like that, drug dealing and stuff like that. So just pay attention to her. Her the way she is just so defensive.
2019, a home he's never been to. That's one lie you told in your document. No,
Judge, I didn't ask her about that.
Ms. Merchant, I want you to ask a very precise question. I think she's saying and answering that he did not live with her. So why don't we break that up into smaller parts?
I didn't ask about living.
But you put in your.
You see how she said ever? She's very angry black womanish. I hate to say that, but she's very angry black womanish when she's responding to, the judge in the courtroom. She responded to the prosecutor that has her on the stand, and I bet it's very uncomfortable for her to be in this position because she's used to putting people in the hot seat. She's used to, accusing people. She's not used to being accused. So now that the shoe is on the other foot, she's not handling the pressure very well. Check it out.
We're talking about professionalism. No, while we're talking about professionalism, she put in 3 different documents. He lived with me.
Full opportunity to respond.
Notice how she slammed the paper down. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's really displaying signs of someone who's guilty, because that's not professionalism. Now, this is a prosecutor in the state of Georgia, and to be in a courtroom and to be slamming paperwork down like that is really, it's really unprofessional.
And filed that with the court.
In 2019.
He's never been to South Fulton. In 2019, I lived in South Fulton. He has never been to my residence in 2019, ever, not once.
In 2019, he's never been to your residence.
Again, check her body language out. You see how she looked away? Your body language will tell a lot. The way that she looked away is kind of like, you're not talking to your homegirl. You're talking to defense attorney. They're cross-examining you, and the way she's looking away is very, very unprofessional. And they're gonna probably try to stick it to her. Just reading her body language, they already know that, hey, we got her, back against the wall, and all we got to do is keep applying pressure, and she's gonna end up probably saying something that she shouldn't. Exposing evidence that she shouldn't, and putting herself in the frying pan, pretty much.
Any place.
I lived in my home in South Fulton before I started getting the threats that were here, a house I paid for with my own sweat and tears. I'm no longer able to live there. But in 2019 I did, and in the 2 months of 2019 that I knew Mr. Wade, 3 months, the beginning of October, all of November, and all of December, Mr. Wade never came to my house in South Fulton. Let me help you out. I lived there in 2020. He never came to my house in 2020, let alone live with me, as you put falsely in these documents. In the first 3 months of 2021, when I could still enjoy my home, Mr. Wade never came to South Fulton, and it is certainly a lie that he lived with me.
So in 2020, so you said 2019, 2020, did Mr. Wade ever visit you at a place that you
He
resided?
has never been to my home in South Fulton. 2020 was before I knew.
She very upset. She hot now. She hot now. She very upset. You could see how she if she wasn't in the courtroom, I can pretty much tell that if she was somewhere, she would cuss this woman out. I mean, you could plainly see that because she hot. I mean, she real hot. I'm surprised she ain't start sweating. Look at that darn that weave sitting up on top of her head. I'm surprised you ain't seen a bead of sweat come down her forehead yet. Hold on here.
Knew that a phone call was going to be made and I was going to have to abandon my home. As a result thereof, he never visited, lived at, came to, or has seen South Fulton.
You qualified that with your home in South Fulton.
That's where I lived in 2020.
In 20, did he ever visit you at a place that you resided?
Okay. I don't understand. You're not giving me guidance. In 2020, I lived in South Fulton.
Okay.
That's the only place I lived in South Fulton. That's before I had to abandon my home, Judge.
All right.
And at my home in
we're
South
gonna clarify
Fulton,
this. We'll break it
he never came there, okay? So if you don't come someplace, you can't live there.
Ms. Willis, I'm going to have to caution you. This is going to be my first time I have to caution you. We have to listen to the questions as asked. And if this happens again and again, I'm going to have no choice but to strike your testimony. So we need to break this down. Ms. Merchant's question, I believe, was asking whether.
Now the judge is, he's that's strike one. He giving her a little bit of a lash and letting her know, look, you better tighten up. You know what I'm saying? You getting a little bit out of hand with the way you talking. You getting a little unprofessional. So you need to bring it on, bring it on back in and stop with the angry black woman vibe because you're on the stage right now. They call it on the stand, but you're pretty much on the stage. All eyes on you. And you got to be able to handle this type of pressure. You are a public figure. This is the same woman that we seen with Killer Mike and T.I., when they were, wanting justice for people down in Atlanta. She should be able to handle pressure a little bit better than what she's handling it, which makes me, feel as if, you're hiding something that you may be guilty. Let's keep watching.
You lived anywhere other than South Fulton.
I did not live anywhere but South Fulton, Georgia in 2020. That is before I began my prosecution of this case, and it was my plan to only live there.
Did Mr. Wade ever visit you at the condo that you leased from Miss Yurdi?
He visited that condo, yes.
He did.
Yes.
Did he ever spend the night at that condo?
No.
Now see how the body language change, the licking of the inside of the cheek. You know, if the man done visited there and you guys were having an affair, I'm pretty sure the man done, he done spent the night at the house before. It's easier to just say, yes, he spent the night at the house because right now what you're doing is you're hiding something. And the more you hide it, the more it bags you into a corner and the more it's going to make you look foolish. Because the way that they're going to run these questions down to her, they have already organized them in a sequence to know that once we ask this, that's going to lead into this. Once we ask this, it's going to lead into that. If she answers that like this, that's going to put her in a place where it's going to make her look like she's being untruthful. And she should know that as a prosecutor. I'm surprised maybe she needed to have a little drink before she went up in there so she would be a little bit more calmer because she's very on edge. Her blood pressure is bulging out of her eyes. Let's check it out.
Just visited.
Yeah, but he did visit for sure.
Did you ever go out to eat together, other than the lunches you talked about,
In
during
2020?
2019 or 2020?
I would think that we probably went to lunch, but it wouldn't have been, let me think, 2019. I'm going to say, I don't know, I'm going to say we probably broke bread someplace in 2019. I don't remember it, but it seems like we would have broke bread sometime in 2019. So I'm going to say yes, although I have no recollection. But it seems to me like I go out to eat and drink with pretty much everyone, so I'm going to say yes.
So outside of the vacations that we've already talked about, did you ever go out to dinner with Mr. Wade?
I mentioned to you that
I'm going to object as to what time period. Like we're asking very vague questions. I thought we were treating the witness as hostile under 611. We're no longer doing that. So we're going to go back and forth. We need to be more specific with our questions if we're going to treat her as hostile.
All right, Ms. Merchant.
All right, so the judge, he used a very telltale piece of verbiage there. He labeled her as being hostile. And that's exactly what she's being. She's being very, very hostile. I mean, the way that she's coming across, the way that she's answering the questions. The man that you see here, if you can see my cursor, that man there, that's Mr. Wade. That's the man that she's been accused of having an affair with. Let me see if I can get, that's not what I'm looking for. Let me see. See if I can get you a picture of Mr. Wade here. Okay, this guy here. This guy here is going to be Mr. Wade. Now she's been dealing with him for a while. Let me blow him up so you can see him. It's a little bit blurry. But that guy there, that's going to be Mr. Wade. That's the man she's been dealing with, having a little public, a little fling with, Fannie Mae. She been tossing that Fannie around on Mr. Wade here. And at this point, it's about to get her in trouble. Let's see what way she gonna back herself in the corner with the way this man is the way that the judge is, he's trying to keep order in the court, but she's making herself appear to be very, as he said, hostile. And this woman who's asking her the questions, she's gonna turn it up on her here in a minute. Let's check it out.
It's not so much, I think you can elect between leading and open-ended questions, but I think we are still wondering about, and I think we need to get back on track of focusing on the financial benefit or the relationship.
And my next question about if you did go out to dinner, who paid when you went out to dinner?
He paid, I paid.
You both paid.
Okay, so let me be real clear. We didn't say, oh, the bill is $102. You give $51, I'll give $51. I don't operate like that with my girlfriends. I don't operate like that with anyone. He caught the bill, I caught the bill. Whomever.
Did you ever pay him through Cash App?
No.
You only ever paid him through cash?
Well, yes. We're talking about, I'm very confused.
You've never
now.
given Mr. Wade money through Cash App?
No.
The only money you've ever given him outside of a contract is cash.
I didn't give him money in a contract.
Okay, so this is exactly what I'm talking about right here. So the way that she's asking the questions, you have to be a little bit more savvy, because when she says, "Have you ever paid her through Cash App or paid Mr. Wade through Cash App?" and you're saying no, she's asking you because she already knows that you have. You have to be a little bit more savvy than that. The way that you answer this question is going to paint a picture of you being dishonest, because if you're able to say, "Hey, we use certain forms of currency that sometimes it may have been cash, sometimes we may have used Cash App, I'm not sure." But to actually say no, then now you're opening the door for her to come back and say, "Well, here in your Cash App digital footprint, you have a forwarding deposit into Mr. Wade's account for X amount of dollars." Now you're being looked at as someone who can't be trusted and is dishonest. And again, this is someone who's prosecuting this man here. She's prosecuting Mr. Young Thug. The state of Georgia versus Young Thug. And Fani Willis is leading the charge against this fella. Okay?
So that was cute, but I didn't give him money out in a contract. What happened is, no, we're going to answer it since you said it. He worked more hours than he was paid, and the county paid him for the work that he did. So don't be cute with me and then think that you're not going to get an answer.
And I will ask you about the contract
Be
in a minute.
cute with her now.
I asked you about
Don't
cash.
be cute with Fani.
Did you ever pay him anything? And I'm trying to qualify my questions. I'm not talking about the contract with Fulton County that was paid. I'm not talking about that.
Fani say, "Don't be cute with her now." Now she hot now. You can look at her and tell she getting very agitated. She very upset. She told the lady, "Don't be cute with her." I mean, this is very unprofessional type talking in a courtroom setting for someone who deals in this level of engagement all the time. You would expect this type of talk from a woman who is not very frequent in the courtroom, is not very frequent with litigation and how law works. But the way she's operating and the way she's speaking, she's acting as if she's new to this form of interaction. When you speaking in law terms and you speaking in in a courtroom setting.
I'm talking about outside of that. Did you ever pay him anything other than cash?
I've only given him cash a few times in the course of what we're talking about.
So you've
If
never
we
used
would
your
go to
credit
dinner,
Let her finish her answer.
if we would go to dinner, I wouldn't give him cash because he paid for dinner or I paid for dinner. I've given him cash only a few times in life, probably 4.
Okay.
Probably the most money I've ever handed him is $2,500. The least amount of money I've handed him, probably between $500 and $1,000.
You see how she's starting to say things that are going to trap herself. If the least amount of money you gave him is $2,500, or the least amount of money you gave him is $2,500 and $1,000, that's $3,500. So you're starting to talk yourself into a hole. And the more that they dissect your character, the more they're going to see that you're a person that cannot be trusted. Okay, again, I keep going back to this. This is a woman who's prosecuting Young Thug, the man that you see here on the screen. The state versus Georgia. The state versus Young Thug. The state of Georgia versus Young Thug. And this is the woman who's leading the charge. This is not, this is not something that we should be able to sit back and allow for a woman of this stature to go into a courtroom and to operate in this capacity and yet still have the authority to be over someone's life like a Young Thug. And I'm pretty sure that there's many others who she's put in jail for long stints of time with no regard for whether or not they were wrong or right. It's just all on how she felt, whether or not she felt like she liked this person or not. If she liked them, they may not have got as much time as they would have got on a case where she didn't like them. But this is not the type of character that you want after you, because she has the power to destroy your whole lifestyle, and she has the law enforcement and the state of Georgia behind her, that she can dictate to the people in power to have you put away for a long time. That it's just sad that you have people with a character like this that are in positions to rule over people's lives, and uh, take them away from their family, and make hardship and heartache for people. Let's continue.
You never wrote him a check?
Ma'am, I don't have checks.
Okay. So you have no proof of any reimbursement for any of these things because it was all cash, right?
The testimony of one witness is enough to prove a fact.
So my
Are you
question was,
telling
do
me
you
that
have
I'm
any
lying to you? Is
proof?
that what you're intimating right here?
I'm asking if you have any proof that you gave him any
I
of
mean,
these
the
monies.
proof is what I just told you.
You have no written proof. Is that correct?
So I have some, probably some transactions like in Belize. I probably spent $500 on my card in Belize. I spent 800, I can't remember, $900 on each of our tickets to go to Belize. I did the $700. I probably got some minor expenses in Aruba that would be on a card.
Now let me just reiterate the fact that she is engaged with Mr. Willis. What you talking about, Willis? She's she's engaged with Mr. Willis, uh, and he was brought on the case to help prosecute, in the state of Georgia for the election with Donald Trump. Okay. Uh, Let me see here. Let me see if I can get old Willis. Let me see if I can get old Willis up in here. Yeah, let me see if I can get old Willis up in here for y'all. There go Willis. What you talking about, Willis? Okay, there's Willis. There's Mr. Not Willis. That's Mr. Wade. Excuse me. And Wade looked like he's saying to her, "What you talking about, Willis?" But Mr. Wade was brought on the case with Fani Willis. Mr. Wade was brought on, on the case with Fani Willis to help in the prosecution of the ballots being, with the Donald Trump saying that Georgia miscounted documents and miscounted votes in the state of Georgia. Okay. Now, if this man that you have here, Mr. Wade, excuse me, if he was brought on to help prosecute and help carry out this case, you guys being in Belize is very irrelevant. Okay. There's no reason why you all should be together in Belize. Why are you in Belize? Obviously, you're in Belize because you're on leisure time. You and this man are using money that should have been used for other purposes, campaign money, and you're taking, personal leisure time. You're going on vacation with this man. You guys are, you're basically living it up. It's $500, she said, on food. Seems like $800. She's saying these things and then she's retracting them. But most of the time when you say things like that, it's because they're the truth. You're not saying things like that because it's not the truth. You're saying things in this capacity because you're wondering in your mind, do they know already? So before they can get to it, you're already putting it on the table to let it be known, but you're really exposing yourself premature. Let's see. Let's see how she carries on because it gets real interesting. I'm not going to go the whole extent of this video. You know, this video again is at 11 live. If you want to watch the full video, this video is about 54 minutes long. You know, I've been following this story for a little minute. Well, since they started it last week. You know, as they say, I am a fan of the Great White Hope, as they call him. Even though lately, I ain't gonna lie, even though lately I've heard him say some things and I'm like, hold on, what you talking about, man? Like that ain't something that I agree with. But that's neither here nor there. You know, he may be saying things that try to appeal to those who may be opposing him so that he can get back in the seat. But this hearing here that she's giving statements for and sitting on the stand for is for the prosecution of Donald Trump for the disqualifying votes of the state of Georgia as we proceed.
But for the most part, for those trips, other than, so the 2 cruises, I gave him money for those before we ever left, because they were pre-booked. Let me answer.
Well, the question was if you had any written proof. And so
I've answered you that I've had written
we
proof.
can move to the next question. If you've answered if you had any written proof, and that was my question.
I want to make sure that we're clear that for the 2 cruises,
Judge,
and that's
I
the
asked
cruise
if she gave
plus
him written
Aruba.
proof.
We're not going to talk over each other. Ms. Merchant, she answered your question, so we can ask the next question. Ms. Willis and Ms. Cross will have plenty of opportunities to let you clarify your answers when it's her turn.
Thank you, Judge. Knowing your role as district attorney, you know that public funds are scrutinized and money is scrutinized and things like that. You understand.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You understand you're under a microscope. You have reporting requirements, all of those types of things. You have no record other than your testimony of the money that you've given Mr. Wade.
You've already asked that question. Let's keep going.
When you took office, you had a tax lien of $4,600. Did you pay that with cash when you made that tax lien whole?
I probably paid through however you pay.
Okay. So, but you were saying that
Now again, you have a woman that she took office having a $4,600 tax lien. A tax lien could be for various things. It could be for unpaid taxes. You know, it could be for taxes on a home. It could be for taxes on a vehicle. There's various different reasons you can have a tax lien put on you. But to actually be someone that has been placed in a position where you're trying to run for office and you have a tax lien, that raises a red flag to me to say that you're a person who you're hustling. Okay. You are political and you're coming along and coming on the scene as a hustler. You're a political hustler because you're into politics. And the way that you get into politics is through getting funding from people who are just handing out money to you. It's the same way with with the vice president that we have now. You know, she hustled her way to the top. The same way that this woman probably did. She probably hustled her way to the top. You know, you're coming into the seat with a $4,600 tax lien on your, under your belt. And that, I'm not knocking you for that because we all have things that we have to take care of that we, may fall behind in. But to have someone like, like this woman coming into a seat of office and you're already in the negative coming in, it just paints a picture that you are some type of, you're some type of political hustler. You know, you're getting into this position because you don't have means to pay bills and you see this as an easy way to get money, free money, when you don't have a skill, you have no type of you have no type of skill set to offer to people, whether it be sewing or mechanics or whatever it may be. It's almost the same as when people go and take it upon themselves to uh, begin to try to religious hustle. When you can't find a way to bring income into your life anymore, then you go and you want to get saved, and now all of a sudden you're at the forefront of the prayer group, and you go from the leader of the prayer group to now you're in front of the church on Sunday, and you're speaking to the people, and you're looking for a little cut out of the collection plate whenever it gets passed around. This is all hustle. I've watched people do this for years and years and years coming up. Coming up through the ranks, people fall on hard times and they can't figure out how to make ends meet. So they go into different avenues, and they're basically looking for money. They're not coming out and saying that's what they're doing, but if you just watch their movements, if you just the body language will tell you everything. If you just watch what people do, you'll see them trying to lead themselves, or trying to steer themselves into a position of getting money in some kind of way off of the people. And sometimes sometimes it works out good for people, and sometimes people's character comes into play where it paints them as a bad person, and you can really, really see like a train wreck coming with people when they try to push themselves into these positions so that they can receive free money for doing nothing, pretty much.
You had amounts of cash. You still had that lien in 2022 when you were dating Wade and going on these trips. So the cash that you gave him, that could have been used to pay this tax lien off?
You gonna tell me how to pay my
I'm going to
bills?
object. This is not relevant as it relates to why we're here today.
Mr. Merchant, are you trying to establish that she was insolvent in some way?
I definitely was trying to establish that she did not have these mass amounts of cash that she's talking about, yes.
All right. Re-ask the question.
You had a tax lien in 2022, $4,600.
Did you say I did?
And you did not use this cash that you had to reimburse Mr. Wade to pay that off, correct?
No.
Okay.
I went shopping too and I didn't pay it off.
And you talked about, you gave a lot of interviews to some authors of a book called Fani, right?
I would not characterize it as a lot. I probably have spoken to them
You're not
2 or 3 times.
My question is relevant as to.
I think
So as you can see, she's very, distraught and hostile under the questioning of the cross-examiner while she's on the stage. This trial is going to be going on, I think, for another couple of weeks or so. Like I said, if you want to go to 11 Live and look at this whole interview, I'm not going to go through the whole interview now, but again, it's just shameful to have someone of this stature
it's already come up. The finances are discussed in the book. I'll overrule that.
that's in a position to, be determining the livelihood of a man, of this stature. This man, Young Thug, he has been in the Fulton County Jail for the last, I think, year, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a year and a half. It might be 2 years. I'm not even sure. But he's been, he's been incarcerated for a while here. And this woman, and her affairs with this man, Mr. Wade, are basically have been, made out to be shady characters, man. They, they're in a position where they feel untouchable. They feel that they can do whatever. But it seems the wrath of the election that is coming up is starting to catch up with them, and they may have to answer for some things that they may not want to answer for. That's just politics for you. These political hustlers, they get themselves into positions where they feel like they're untouchable, and at some point, it all comes down to whether you're on the right or the wrong side of the law. whether you're telling the truth or whether you're just telling a lie. Amen. I always say, y'all don't light up type. Gotta say.